My friends, the Lord is with you.
And also with you.
We're reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said, I solemnly assure you, whoever does not enter the sheepfold through the gate, but climbs in some other way, is a thief and a marauder. The one who enters through the gate is the shepherd of the sheep, the one for whom the keeper opens the gate. The sheep know this one's voice. The shepherd calls them by name and leads them out. Having brought all of them out, the shepherd walks in front of them that they may follow, because they recognize the shepherd's voice. They will not follow a stranger. Such a one they will flee, because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Even though Jesus used this figure with them, they did not grasp what he was trying to tell them. He therefore said to them again, My solemn word is this, I am the sheep gate. All who came before me were thieves and marauders whom the sheep did not heed. I am the gate, and whoever enters through me will be saved. You will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and slaughter and destroy. I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. My friends, the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
First, let me say Happy Mother's Day to everyone, and Happy First Communion to you, David, and you again. It's a great day to be here to celebrate with y'all, and I know it might be a little scary, but we're going to have you out here and it'll all work. I do want everybody to know, though, that the First Communion bread, or the Eucharist that we celebrate with today, was made by these two this morning, by their own hands, and they got the cauliflower in their... Now, I've always wished, as many of you know, I don't do sports very often. I don't do sports at all. But you always see the signs on 316, right? I always wish I could go to a sports game. I might get a ticket someday to actually go do this. Well, I think I've had an offer, but let's just never went. But I'm going to make a sign that says John 10:10. Because I really wish this was the message that we were putting forth as Christians. Because John 10:10 is the last line of that gospel today. I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. If we could give a message of that to the world, I think it would actually transform it. Now, I have a confession to make, my friends. I hear voices. I hear voices, and I'd just like to share a few of the voices that I listened to pretty intently over this past week. And I'll tell you what, it put me at really what I call a certifiable, I had to write this down, a certifiable perplexable dilemma. Because of all the voices that I heard, and this is some of the things that I heard. I heard that there are people who are too tall, and there are people who are too short, there are people who are too rich, and there are people who are too poor, and I heard that there are things that are too fast, and there are other things that are too slow. I've heard that my cell phone is obsolete as well as my computer, even though I just bought them last week, and that the wrinkles in my body, which are many, that they can simply disappear if I would just merely inject some particular stuff that nature has decided that I no longer need. I found that some of us have too much hair and others have too little. I've learned that this past winter was long and harsh, and that spring is too long and cold and wet so far. I've heard that the government has moved too fast on one issue and too slow on others. I've heard that the internet is too accessible for some people and not accessible enough for others. I've heard that some people wait too much and others too little, that some people have a green line and others ought to have it if they don't. I've learned and heard that I have just got to have it, and that I ought to just do it. So the dilemma, I think, is real, and I don't think the dilemma is only for me. I believe it is for each and every one of us, because I'm quite certain that y'all probably have heard those same voices. And we're left with that question: is anyone or anything really okay? Is anyone or anything really okay? Wouldn't it just be totally awesome to have one day where just being who we are was okay? Wouldn't it be cool if I didn't have to worry that my cell phone was out of date or my computer? Or wouldn't it just be okay to have? Wouldn't it be awesome to have an okay day? It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be totally awesome. It doesn't have to rock your world. Just to have a day where everything was okay. There's a lot of voices that seem to be speaking to us as a world and as a society of scarcity. There's a lot of voices of fear and deprivation, and far many more of them than there are of voices of gratitude and serenity and peace and excitement and just being okayness. The surprising thing is I think Jesus had that same experience. I believe he was living in a world, although he didn't have radio, TV, internet, or smartphones, I believe that Jesus had that same experience of life and offered us that same word of encouragement. I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. It's okay to just be who and how and where we are and not need or want or have to have anything else. But what I've really been surprised about is how easy it is to step into that stream of negativity, that stream of doubt and resentment and general not okayness, if you will. I know it's not even a word, but it's not even good. It's so easy to say, I don't have enough time or energy or resources or whatever. And it's much more challenging to simply say, wow, I'm only one person in this place with one moment, with one physical being, with one spiritual and emotional, and all of those needs that go with it. And I can't do it or say it or even understand it all. And maybe that's okay. Maybe it's just simply okay. It's much more challenging to try to see the positive and hope and joy and excitement and peace that surrounds us, because so many voices of negativity and scarcity are the ones that are seeming at least to be louder in our world. I've really tried these past few days, really tried to live in being okay, to live in God's abundance and gratitude, and it has been amazing how hard and challenging that has been. And I keep thinking of that line, I have come that you might have life and have it most abundantly. Our faith, my friends, our faith, the whole journey of the spiritual life, is a journey of uncovering, of digging up, of discovering God's grace, not God's judgment. Somehow, we've flipped that on its head and focused on the latter instead of the former. The Good Shepherd reminds us that we must go through the gate, not over the top of the wall or through the briars or the thorns that line the top ledge of that shepherd's enclosure, but to go through the gate because we'll recognize the voice. It's kind of like, y'all have seen The Voice on TV, I'm quite sure. It's kind of like us going through the gate and the lights going, and it begins now. You know? It's like if we would just do that, how awesome would it be to live into that wholeness, to live into that goodness, to live into that abundance? So Ian, I have a question. Dude, what's the one thing you really like to do? Play baseball. And David, how about you, dude? What's one thing you really like to do?
Play soccer.
Soccer. Okay, so my question is, why do we play soccer and baseball? Do you feel really good when you do those kind of things? Yeah? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about us doing in life what excites and gives us joy and happiness. And that's what we should be doing. Now, you can't play baseball and, what was it, soccer? You can't play baseball and soccer all day long, right? Because we have to go to school, we have to do those things. But when we're doing those things, if we focus on how much happiness and joy that can bring us, it can carry you through the school.
You see, the greatest disservice that we can do, or that I think we do in the spiritual life, is that we put on things that crush our spirit. Fear and doubt and anger and resentment and certitudes and the burden of shame and anything that crushes the human spirit, I really believe is not a godly thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not meaning to say that all of life is this glorious, ubiquitous euphoria that has no challenges or trials or tribulations. Nothing could be further from the truth, because that's not life. Life does have trials, life does have tribulations, and those things tempt us to believe that God's not present. But that's exactly what they're doing, is just tempting us to believe that God isn't here when God really is. So my question is this: what voices do we listen to? What voices do we hear? And what voices do we speak? See if this makes sense. My friends, have you ever been awake at 5:30 in the morning? Actually, at 5:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, you turn on the TV, and here's what advertisers, they are just masterful at how we think. Because at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, on a regular channel, I'm not even going to mention which one it is, in the middle of a newscast will come a commercial. And in that commercial, what happens is beautiful orange gets sliced in half. And it gets sliced in half by a knife that's so sharp it just makes it perfect. And the light just catches the little reflection of the rays that come off of those little things. And the orange just happens to hit the table, and that thing juice just gutters out, right? And the light hits it. And what immediately happens, even just in describing it, doesn't your mouth start to water? Right? And that's exactly what the advertiser's going for. Going for this body memory that, oh man, I'm not going to have any orange juice in the refrigerator, but I'll bet you darn sure that the next time I'm at the store, I'm going to buy some orange juice. Because when I see that commercial again, I'm going to go to the fridge and get some orange juice. Right? They understand the voices that we listen to in our lives and in our world, and they understand it clearly. Our question is, how do we understand it, and what voices do we allow ourselves to listen to? There's lots of them that speak, not of abundance and joy and peace and serenity. But that does point out exactly what we're doing here today and this evening. It points out the importance of community, to gather with people, with family, with friends, with a community of people who also know and believe and realize that indeed God is here, that grace is alive in our lives, and that Jesus will always be the Good Shepherd, even through the storms. Jesus won't keep us from those trials and tribulations and the tragedies, but Christ will be with us through them all, each and every one. So let's never forget that He came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. I really wonder what voice we're going to speak and listen to.